Hey everybody, welcome to episode 3 of the Leven Podcast. I am your host, Leven. I want to start off by saying thank you to everybody who's been giving their feedback and support on the podcast. Really excited to keep doing and pumping out more episodes for you guys. Obviously, I'm done with school soon, so we're going to try to do consistently 2 episodes a week once I'm done with school, but for the meantime, I might still just be doing one. Um, and just let me know, man. Like, keep showing your love, keep showing your support. That's what keeps me going. I've listened to a lot of your feedback. Obviously, this week's episode, you can probably tell already. If you're listening on Spotify or if you're watching on YouTube, we have new art. Shout out to my boy Soylent for sorting that out for me. His Twitter would be down below in the description. He's done a great job. This week, we spoke to Zaccubus. I took a bit of a different approach this week's episode. It wasn't necessarily an interview. We just kind of discussed some takes and some topics on the scene right now. I'm sure a lot of you will enjoy it. So thank you guys for listening to me. Be sure to put a podcast on in the background while you're doing some creative or pub stomping, whatever it is you're doing. Be sure to put it on in the background and let me know on Twitter what you think of the podcast. Follow me on Twitter at 112k and I'll see you guys at the end. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, mate. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Obviously third episode, first 2 went pretty well. Obviously those were more interview based.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of switch up the content. Don't want it to get too stale. And obviously with the work that I've seen you do recently, obviously at Katowice, I thought it'd be good
Yeah.
to have you and kind of discuss some things within the scene, get your opinion on a few different takes I have.
Sure. I'll try and help out as much as I can.
Um, I want to ask you about that first. How did you end up at Katowice?
um, that's a great question. I used to do a lot of casting before Fortnite was released. I've done many games. I've been a competitive player for a long time,
What games did you compete in?
and God, pretty much everything. I don't know how much you know about arena FPS games like Quake, Unreal Tournament,
Oh
Painkiller.
yeah.
Like 1v1 arena deathmatch games. They were kind of my bread and butter back in the day. But I've played like Tony Hawk's on a world stage as well, and all kinds of random crap.
Damn.
Basically, I've never had a home game to stay on because most games die pretty quickly unless they're like Counter Strike.
Yeah.
So I always had to like switch between games until Fortnite came along, which I felt this is actually a really fun competitive game at its core. And I don't know, it was just something different and new, and it was every time that you load it up, it's just a fresh experience usually. So hence why I've stuck around with it for so long.
Damn, that's pretty sick. Do you see yourself doing more of that within this game, or are you gonna try stick to being a player?
I would like to do probably more casting and stuff like that because, well, I'm old now and I suck at games, so it'd be kind of better for me to move in that way and that direction. And I was kind of doing that already until Fortnite came out, and I kind of went full-time streamer as it happened. I was
Yeah.
playing with some big streamers at the top, at the very start, so gave me a little bit of a head start coming into this game. So
You see, I've always wondered about that, right? You mentioned how you say you're a bit older. How old are you actually?
I'm 34.
Oh wow. Um,
Yeah.
so
I'm
obviously,
like the granddad of Fortnite, pretty much. I think I'm
granddad,
older than Lupo. So,
that's crazy. Um, I'm obviously still quite young. I'm 17. Do you actually feel the difference, like when gaming, as you get older, or is it just kind of like a joke people have?
I think reaction speed is about the same. I was doing some tests the other day. I was kind of like, I was intrigued because there's a lot of kids that I absolutely smashed, like in
Yeah,
a 1v1 situation. But I think it's just the quicker decision making that kids come up with on the fly, which gives them the great advantage. Like the amount of choices that they can do, especially on a build off, like it just puzzles me. Like as soon as somebody places a ramp cone top of me, I'm just like, all right, I know what to do, but it takes me about 20 minutes to get there.
yeah.
Whereas for most kids, it's like half a second and they're fucking already at the top.
That's crazy. Um, that's interesting. Some good insight there.
But like, if there's a face off situation with guns, then
Yeah,
like I've got 15 years of experience at that, so it's kind of evens the playing field a little bit. But you know, the skill mechanic in this game is it's finding those opportunities and how quick you can edit and how quick you can build and how you can maneuver yourself so quickly with it. I think that's the greatest skill mechanic in this game, really.
Yeah, and that's actually one thing that I kind of want to get into later on in the episode. To begin with, did you watch the program? Well, I've already spoken to it. You didn't, did you?
I didn't know. Like, I've kind of had like 2 days off of streaming, but
Yeah.
I imagine it went well. So,
I literally, so I was up at the time because I pay attention to basketball, the NBA, and there was some big NBA news at the time. But so I was up and I tried to watch it. There was like some really weird game mode that they were like, I don't know, trying out or something.
yeah,
It it must have been interesting, I guess, but I wasn't really into it. I tuned out.
it's kind of I think they're going more in the direction of like adding more creative stuff into the game.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people that are making loads of cool creative stuff, and so they kind of just want to introduce that with the pro am a little bit and show it's a little bit less serious than the competitive stuff. But I think down in our core, we're competitive players. We like the traditional game mode where everybody's just out there to get you, and
yeah.
there's something about it that just always brings us back to it.
The main reason I actually even wanted to bring up the program was essentially I noticed that season 9 is going to end on the 23rd of July. Now,
Yeah,
the Fortnite World Cup finals actually coincidentally begin on the 26th of July. Now,
yeah,
now, obviously, I've spoken to some players and I tweeted it out as well on Twitter, and people kind of responded to me saying that there's kind of been some like, head nodding and winking, which kind of implies that they're going to play the World Cup on season 9, but just based off of everything that's kind of happened in Fortnite's past, like I don't see that being the case. Like I just don't see a situation where they bring out season 10, like, that's season 10 and it's the Fortnite World Cup
yeah.
finals and they just decide to play on season 9. I don't see that happening. And if they do end up playing the World Cup on season 10, that means there's only been 3 days to adjust, and who knows what crazy stuff they're gonna do for season 10, which should be their biggest season they've done. Um,
Yeah, this is a great question. I mean, when I did Katowice, they dropped I think it was season 8
yeah,
on Katowice on the day, like, and we had like 2 days of warm up, but the game just kept crashing and everything going wrong behind the scenes. And it was apparently they were saying it was because of stretch res, but I don't believe that. But still,
yeah,
it was just like there's so many problems because of it. And it's just lucky that they had at least, I think it was 2 days for the players to actually try it and see what's changed in the game.
I
If
just,
they go season 10 right
yeah,
on this launch, it should, like, as a pro player in this game, it's kind of like you should be expecting the worst whenever there's a patch.
yeah,
That's my opinion. Like, you can never, like, if you think it's not going to change, no, don't have that mindset because you're already going to put yourself at a disadvantage. Think of it's going to be like, the worst patch ever every time,
yeah,
and then you're mentally prepared for when you're going into the tournament. People that think it's not going to change is, yeah, I think you're asking too much a little bit there. But if Epic have kept it to season 9 for the World Cup, it's like, yes, good move. That is a stellar move right there. That's going to keep everybody happy. Everybody's going to be playing at the peak performance. No one's going to come out of the blue with some spiel of why they lost the tournament. You know what I mean? And like, people don't want to hear that anyway. They want to hear the positives of a major tournament where people are playing at their best. They don't want to talk about, somebody canning themselves off the map like Tavosky did.
oh yeah, I remember that.
Just random bug. It's just like,
Yeah,
it's the worst, right? You don't want that. So it's better to keep it season 9. But I think in terms of longevity of the game, I think more evolution, more change is always a good thing, especially for a battle royale, because it will get stale and it will get stale fast.
yeah,
I've come from loads of different games in the past, and it's always been one of those things that the game just stays at one level and plateaus and never develops or grows or goes into anything else in the future, really, and
yeah,
it just disappears. And I think Fortnite has got a unique blend that is constantly evolving, constantly changing, keeping you interested in one way, shape, or form. And yes, it can be like really stressful as well because a lot of players out there, they don't like change. They don't like things getting mixed up. But, it's kind of the nature of the beast. I think it's been fairly obvious after like 2 years of Fortnite. You're never going to be safe with your metas.
100%. And even with that though, I think there to a degree when you look at Epic's competitive approach, you kind of have to give them some like you have to give them credit, I feel. Um the I think the biggest thing when you look at just the comp scene in general is the way they've revolutionized crossplay. I
Yeah.
think before Fortnite, I can't think of a single game where controller players and PC players are competing at the highest level somewhat equally, because obviously there's still debates about whether, PC and controller are equal, whatever. But the fact that we have a platform in which they can actually compete with each other and against each other, I think is incredible because that's just a standard that's been set by Epic now. Obviously, you see with
Yeah.
Call of Duty, they've announced that their game's going to be crossplay, and
It's really nice that a company has stepped up and done that, and now it's made it more accessible for everyone. I still think mouse and keyboard's got a huge advantage, and you can see
yeah,
from like the sheer numbers of the players that have qualified for the World Cup.
100%.
Like, I don't know how many pad players there are. Aiden qualified? Is Ghost qualified yet,
Um,
or is he switched to mouse and keyboard now? I can't remember.
I'm not really sure. That's something I have to look into.
Yeah,
But
I need to look up the player list as well.
I,
But
I,
like,
I
I'm
feel
fairly certain there's like maybe
way
like
more.
yeah, like 95%, if not 99% of the players are mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, I'm
So
sure somebody. I think someone up probably at like Fortnite BR Live or someone's definitely already figured that out, and we're
yeah,
probably gonna hear about that more soon. Um, with with
but
with oh, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say, but overall, it's a great move because I think separating the player bases like that has always been like it's not been very healthy. It's been good to get everybody involved in the game,
Yeah,
and it creates this like elitism almost. Like mouse and keyboard is superior, but at least like as a pad player, you can then compete and then go, okay, well maybe I should go mouse and keyboard. Maybe I should upgrade. Maybe I could beat these guys if if I step up my game and or maybe you just get you beat somebody with a pad and you're like, dude, that guy was legit. Like, and I just
yeah,
beat him with a pad. Holy crap.
yeah,
Maybe I can do this thing.
yeah,
It just opens up the whole gaming platform. Having pads and, Xbox, PlayStation, play against PC.
yeah,
It's crazy good. It gets you so many more people that want to be competitive. It helps the competitive industry a lot more than players like believe. I think there's a lot of negative reaction to it at first. Like, oh my god, everybody's like, we're losing our FOV balance and stuff like that. But in the long run, I think it's going to be healthier. Like nobody wanted to give up stretch res when it came in, but again, that was kind of Epic's fault, if you ask me. Like as soon as like 72 hours and stuff, everybody started doing stretch res. It was
yeah,
like that should have been out within 24 hours. Do you know what I mean? That should have been patched in there.
yeah.
The
If they
fact it
if they
is,
didn't
it
want it out,
stayed in
yeah,
for like 7, 8 months. Like, of course, people are going to be upset once it's gone. Like, it should be something that could be removed straight away if you see it as an advantage, especially against the console community that can't do anything about it.
yeah. Um, when it comes to what they've done in the esports scene, I don't know. It's hard. I think a lot of people would argue that you can't call Fortnite esport. Um, I don't have a I don't necessarily have a stance on that, but I do feel like they've done a lot in order to try and redefine what an esport is, especially considering how hard it is. Because in other games, like in games like Counter-Strike and Rocket League, any other kind of game where it's like a team v team based, you have 5v5, 3v3, yeah, and
Yeah.
even one-on-one esports. Like it's I feel like it's easier to work with a game like that when it comes to esports because you have something to look at. You can look at the real world sports, you can look at other esports, and I feel like with Battle Royale it can be a lot harder to do that. Obviously, there's been H1Z1, there's been PUBG, but obviously those
Yeah.
games now aren't
But
in.
even those games were fairly young and
Exactly.
still learning on their curve of like how do they produce their esports content. And when you got organizations like ESL and DreamHack and everybody like putting their heads together and trying to mash out these great production pieces and content, they're going to do it really really well and really quickly. They've got the experience behind them. So it's still trial and error though. All of those events, like there were mistakes along the way, and as Fortnite has gone through, and evolved. Trust me, I know. Like I played in the first ever tournament, and I got banned.
Oh yeah,
and
I've seen that clip.
yeah, and like the whole tournament was a complete mess because we were told that it was going to be a solo and duo event. We get there on the day, and it's like, oh no, there's only solos. And like,
Yikes.
what? I just paid like over $1,000 for my friend to come over to this event, and you're just telling me it's a solo event now. Great.
Yeah.
Communication is massively important in anything, but I think they've always been improving. There's always things to be improved, though. Let's be honest, and I think it will get there. And I think we just gotta not be as bullish and as impatient as we have been, because they are putting a crap load of money into this. And I feel like they don't really need to promote the esports part of this game whatsoever, because the
Exactly.
streamers are just pushing this thing more than anything else.
Yeah.
Like, it's that kind of content that's, getting in the 9-year-olds, getting the kids to buy the toys and stuff in the shop. Like, really, it's kind of like a passion project for the esports stuff right now. Like, there's only 1%, not even 1% of like 100,000 people maybe that play competitive Fortnite. It's really weird and it's kind of messed up.
I think when it comes to just developing their esports scene, I feel like they are kind of their biggest enemy, in the sense that, for one, there's obviously engine problems that have kind of led to a poorer spectator system. Obviously,
Yeah.
squads used to be the main comp game mode, and due to the problems they had with their engine, as players improved, that like the server just couldn't hold up. But
Yeah,
obviously, I'll get into that later when we're discussing, formats for the World Cup.
sure.
I think another biggest problem when it comes to them kind of beating up themselves is the fact that their audience is so young, and that everything that they've done in this game is to cater to younger people. I think obviously when you're looking at it from just the perspective of them trying to be a successful game with a long lifespan, it works perfectly fine. And like you said, they really don't need the esports scene. It's more of
Yeah,
a passion project. In that sense, it's fine. But obviously it does affect the esports scene, because
yeah, yeah,
just on a basic level, like they have to cater to a lot of the younger kids. I feel like one thing that I think people haven't really addressed is how I don't think Epic have ever done anything on like midweek. Like they've never even tried to. And I feel like that's obviously because they know a lot of these kids have school, etc. Whereas in other games, you see tournaments happen midweek, no problem. But obviously that
yeah.
can't happen as much in this game, because half of the kids playing it are still in school. Even me myself, I wouldn't even be able to compete during the midweek because I'm focusing on school. Um,
Yeah. I mean, generally, most people, they're at work most of the week and they
yeah,
finish at 5 and they can't get back and play. I mean, it does fit everybody's need being, on the weekends when it comes to the World Cup stuff. But like the World Cup stuff as well, like 10 weeks, it's a lot, to
yeah,
be honest. Like, uh, I found it really exhausting. Just after the first 2 weeks, like constantly playing with your duo partner, stressing out your duo partner,
yeah.
like trying to find time to practice, and you
And
know,
a lot of
as a
people have
streamer as
ended up,
well, you want to just have fun on your stream sometimes and
yeah,
not have to grind, 24/7 to improve yourselves and your skills, and it's hard to get that balance.
yeah. I feel like in every single kind of comp event they've tried to hold, there's been that problem. Like people complained about Winter Royale so much because of how draining that was. Like the 3 sessions over each day, over two
Yeah,
days, like that was so crazy. Like looking back on it, I can't actually see how that was a thing. That was crazy to me. You obviously spoke about rewards and how much money they've kind of slapped into the game.
yeah,
Now, I think what they've done, with their money has been amazing. Like they've changed so many people's lives. Obviously, when the World Cup finals happen, it's gonna be life changing for so many different people. But
Yeah,
I'm
for sure.
I'm kind of someone who advocates for not just slapping money at the game and because like there's a lot of people who kind of say Fortnite's dying, da, 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 da. With the amount of money they're putting in, the game's not gonna die until they stop putting in that amount of money.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm kind of someone who believes that you should like add intrinsic value to other things in order to create something to grind for other than just the cash. Because for me, I obviously, like I've said many times, I pay attention to the NBA. When you win an NBA championship, yeah, you obviously have your salary that you earn, whatever, but you get
Yeah.
like a championship ring, and a lot of players and a lot of kids that grow up and aspire to be in the NBA grow up wanting a ring. Like they want
Yeah,
that
yeah.
championship ring. In CS:GO, I've seen players like Flusher, etc. Like they brag about the pins that they have once they win certain events. Like I feel like
Yeah, for sure.
with the with the cosmetics that Fortnite has, I feel like you know, they could potentially do things with that in order to create something that people want and aspire to want. But obviously, I saw recently on Twitter that I think somebody kind of mentioned something along these lines with like exclusive skins for people who win events, etc.
Oh yeah, like that's like I don't know if you know this about me, but I used to work for Epic Games. I was a contractor video editor for 2 years,
Yeah,
and I worked on a game called Unreal Tournament, which was a community-based project.
yeah,
Basically, they were like, "We're remaking Unreal, and we want you guys to help." And basically, I started making videos, and they liked the videos, and they're like, "Dave, do you mind if we hire you?" And so I worked for them for a bit.
yeah,
And one of my ideas was like, if anyone like wins one of our big championships, is like, they get their own skin put into the game, them in the game, and that would just be like the tipping point, right? How Ninja's always wanted his own skin in game, like,
yeah,
well, go win it, mate. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah, yeah.
And there's something more than that money can ever give you. Really, you're immortal essentially once
Exactly,
you're in game,
exactly.
and it just means so much more. It's like the international with Dota as well. It's the shield and having the shield and having your name on the shield on every game that you join. You can see
Yeah,
the team that won it. And it's amazing. And I think though I think the money and sort of the money split that they do every week is incredible. I think
yeah,
that's really 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 good. Like 10 out of 10. I can't complain about that whatsoever.
yeah,
Because most, usually it would only pay out to like the top 100, but to actually go down to, so, you're in like top thousands and stuff, that's
yeah. That's
incredible.
incredible. Yeah,
Because that helps a lot of grassroots players, and it shows, you can show your mum and your dad, like, holy crap, I just won like $300 playing this game. And it's just like, it's a good stepping point. It can shows, it shows a learning curve, especially if you gradually increase that foothold every week. So I think that's a really good thing that Epic are doing, and it's a lot of money to front in. But at the end of the day, you kind of want the teams and the brands and stuff like that to be maintaining your salary, and that so money isn't a thing that you're worried about. It's
yeah,
about you wanting to win. That's what it should be about, kind
yeah,
of thing. It's like for me, I've been in the gaming industry for 15 years. And yes, while I want to be successful and pay off my house or whatever, that has never been the end game. Like for me, it's like winning a massive championship
yeah,
where the stakes are as high as they possibly can be, but winning it, and it doesn't matter what the prize fund is, but being there at the top of your game and winning that, I think, is the sensation that I think a lot of players go for. And the people that are qualifying right now, I think, are showing that more than anything, because most of them are becoming successful streamers in their own right, and they've already earned enough money that they can live off
yeah.
quite happily. So the fact that these guys are pushing it and pushing it even harder, I think it's showing great promise really in the future of the game.
Obviously with that though, Ghost Aiden responded to the tweet and he kind of said that he spoke to Epic at one of these events recently, and they kind of said that they were completely against it, any form of exclusive skin in any way. And
Probably because of marketing, right? I mean, like nobody wants to get sued or like
yeah,
revenue and split away from them because, you know, if they put an injury in, maybe they have to share the revenue a little bit more or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe that's the problem. It's a money thing, I would guess.
yeah, it makes sense. Um, I can now that we've got past that, I want to get into the World Cup and what you thought of it so far.
Uh, well, like I said, I think the greatest thing that Epic have done is the inclusivity of, like, you know, having console players and PC players come together, having it so open that anybody can, you know, if they get the 300 arena points, that they can play in it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's been really, really cool. Like, because what most people don't realize is that how hard it is to actually play in a lot of this World Cup stuff in like other games and stuff like that. Anything that's like got a qualifier to it, because you have to go out and find it, right? You have to go to the ESL website. You have to find the dream hat. You already got to be a part of the scene.
yeah,
Whereas a lot of kids might not know anything about the Discord channel that you need to be in to get the information that you need. So this kind of open platform is definitely amazing for that. Especially, I think Epic have done a really good job on that, and I think if they continue that, is great. I think they really want to do more like third party events, because I think that offers new perspectives, and you know, you can see how other tournament organizers really mix up the pot and add unique ideas and make it really consistent. I think a lot of the players that are like at ESL were like, oh, this is actually, you know, they were going, this is legit. We're getting like 5-star treatment from ESL, and they were doing things in a different way slightly to what Epic were doing. And I think, you know, Epic can learn from that and then go, okay, we can add this to our events as well. And then they can share information and do more together, I think, rather than, you know, trying to always have just the solo Epic stuff that's massive. I think we could do more stuff in Europe. I mean, across the UK, we have Belong centres, which are run by Game. And you could have a whole grassroots centre, like having LAN Cafe versus LAN Cafe of Fortnite players. It would be really, really cool, interesting way of developing grassroots scenes and stuff. Yeah. And, you know, gets people out of the house and meeting their favourite gamers as well. Like, you know, if you could get to play with Mongrel at your favourite LAN Cafe, everybody would go, right?
yeah, 100%, 100%. I think I agree with you for the most part on everything that's been said there in regards to what they've done well and what they could be doing in terms of third party, having more third party events. My biggest critiques of the World Cup so far have obviously been kind of what we alluded to earlier with how mentally draining it's been. You know, I think it's too long of a process.
For sure.
I feel like it hasn't really rewarded consistency.
100% agree on that. Like, I think, like when they first changed the point system to what it is now, we're kind of like, that's pretty good. Yeah, it's an upgrade. And then when you realize that some kids have won 5 games in a row and they've not even qualified, and you're just like, what? Like, how? Like, that's amazing achievement. 5 wins? What the hell? And I think it doesn't help unique play styles either develop. It's either one play style or it doesn't count almost at that point as well, because there are some players that want to play a lot safer, but I feel like you're forced to play a very W key play style a lot of the time. And
I'm so happy you said that, because on, like, here on my notes, the next thing I was going to say is how it's been so demanding of a certain type of play style.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you look at the top players from each week, when you actually try to find players who have been consistent, you notice that they all have the same play style. Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that play style whatsoever. And it's incredibly cool to watch.
Yeah.
But like, I can't play it. I can't. I suck. Like my playstyle and how I done well in all the older tournaments was just to basically, you know, be very consistent, make sure that I distance myself as much as possible and find the right ideal spots where I'm strongest at fighting. Yeah. And I feel like in squad stuff that I used to do, because squads was my jam, really. I was a more back support player, making sure I do all the comms, making sure everybody knows in the build off where everybody else is, and then picking things at damage, because I was really good at scoped ARs.
Yeah.
So like that would be my kind of role, and that was my kind of jam. But right now, it's kind of like if I can't goddamn replace somebody's wall and jump in their box within the next 30 seconds, I'm dead. So
Yes.
it's just like, it's really frustrating, but I understand that they want to make the game entertaining and more fun and more fluid. But yeah, it's like, it doesn't really help different play styles be shown or known. You're kind of forced to learn a certain way, and it can be slightly tricky, let's be honest.
Um, yeah, I 100% agree. And with that, I'm gonna give you three takes. I spoke to quite a few pro players, I've spoke to some people who have qualified. I spoke to some people who haven't qualified. I spoke to some people who've quit the game during the process of the World Cup,
Yeah,
qualifiers. And
interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
and I've kind of, asked all of them what they kind of thought of it, things that they would change, and I ended up asking to way too many people. So if I spoke to you and I didn't necessarily involve your take, I apologize.
No problem,
But
mate. I
um,
don't think so anyway.
I um, I spoke to I have three takes, and I just want to know your opinions on them. Let me know any pros and cons you have with them, and we can move on from there. So the first one, um, I spoke to a player who said they'd keep everything the same, but just use a point system that was similar to ESL's. And for people who don't know what ESL's point system was like, they essentially had 5 points per kill, and then you have plus 2 points for every placement past
Yeah.
25. And then once you get to top five, each placement point increases by 4 instead of 2. And then the
Yeah.
person who wins gets plus 9 points. Um,
Yeah. I think that's a bit healthier. I think it rewards, getting to the real late game.
yeah,
Let's be honest. Like I think like a win should reward you more than just 3 kills.
yeah,
To me, that's kind of like, I don't know. It's really hard to avoid somebody for 20 minutes of a game to get to the late game to get to first place. Even if you get even if you get 0 kills, getting to the very end of a game, not dying is still an achievement, to be
yeah,
honest. Like, and when I watch Bizzle do his like no frag runs, I'm just like, oh my god,
yeah,
this kid, man, like Jesus, that's why he's so good, and he's not even shooting people right now.
yeah.
It's just like wow, it's just truly impressive, really. I know he's in a baller most of the time, but even when he's out of the baller, he's still doing crazy
Yeah,
stuff.
you can watch on YouTube, man. It's insane. Like when he gets to the
Yeah,
end game, like you see, like it's incredibly difficult how he has to, he's it's very it's very what's the word I'm looking for here? Like you can see everything he does. There's clear
a
intent.
purpose.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's a very difficult thing to do.
he's definitely thinking like 10 moves ahead of every situation, which is
Exactly.
like really difficult to do. And especially when you don't want to fight anybody, know that certain opportunities would work better if you did have a gun at this point. But he manages to squeeze out of it and do really well. Like,
Yeah,
I'm jealous. I wish I could do that.
same. I wish I could do that. I'd be flipping playing in the World Cup.
Yeah.
Um, the
Yeah.
biggest problem I think that you'd have with that system though is the fact that when you kind of have a point system which values placement over kills, and this is linking back to what I said about Fortnite being their biggest enemy, is I don't think the servers would be able to handle that many players staying alive. Because even now, I think we're gonna watch the Fortnite World Cup and endgame's gonna be pretty laggy, and that's even with a point system where people are encouraged to kill, go out and kill.
Yeah.
So imagine now a point system where people value the win way, way more than they would before. Like there's going to be way more players alive, and
Mm.
I don't think they have servers that can handle that yet.
Yeah.
Um,
It's well, the thing is, like you're saying, like the servers that can't handle it yet. Is the ultimate problem is it's always been with Fortnite is that it was kind of never intended to be this crazy.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like the
yeah,
building itself, like I don't think the game developers ever thought it would get to what it is right now.
yeah,
And the thing was that the engine, um, it was never designed, I don't think, the Unreal 4 engine to have like 100 people in a massive multiplayer online game shooting each other, having this massive map
With
things
so
that are
many
destructible.
entities, yeah,
Yeah, like I mean, they didn't design the engine around that, right? They're sort of retrofitting it and changing it up as they need to. And trust me, these guys are incredible. Like they are the insanely good at what they do, and the fact that they've managed to optimize this game to this level already is just an incredible achievement. And they're going to probably still got tricks in the bag that they'll pull out later on, which they'll add to this engine. But also, like as you were saying, it will get laggy. But I mean, I've been playing in the World Cup, and I haven't noticed it being as bad as it once was.
yeah,
And even when the ballers were taken out, like when the ballers were gone on that week, where there was like no ballers, no movement or whatever, I was just like, this game, there's no way I'm going to survive the late game because it's just going to be so laggy. But to be honest, I didn't notice it much. To be honest, I was expecting, and that's why I thought movement items such as the ballers were put in for the late game, especially to stop people building. That
yeah,
you get 10 people not building in ballers, that's less stress on the server, right? There's less building popping up in every direction. So I just assumed that the ballers were there for that reason, but maybe not. Maybe they're fixing these issues and they haven't really mentioned it or said anything about it yet because they're still testing it in the background. But like I've been pretty impressed by the server loads so far, and I don't think we're going to see like crazy big lag at the World Cup finals. I wouldn't expect so anyway.
yeah. I feel like if anything, that's something that they would have been able to anticipate for so long now that like they are constantly working at it.
Yeah, I mean, Storm Surge does a pretty good job as well as forcing the guys that haven't fought anything as well.
Yeah,
More so than probably people think, but yeah, I think it's been improved upon and it's probably get worked on more. And if they needed more people dead, I'm sure they could think of ways to get people deader quicker. Let's be honest. Look at all the items that have been added in recently.
yeah. They could probably add
Like,
they could probably add a sword. They should probably add like a sword, which can like make you move pretty fast and kill everyone on the map pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean that's a good idea. I think they should do that.
Yeah. I'm gonna give you the second take now.
Yeah, sure.
This one was kind of a miss and mash. This is a common kind of idea that people gave to me. And essentially all it was that breaking it down into more stages. So
Okay.
allow it so that to begin with the arena mode, allow it so that people can be relegated from their league,
Yeah.
and then have it so that every like 2 or so weeks, what it actually the threshold to make a certain league increases. Because like
Yeah.
there's players now who are on like 1,000 arena points.
I've said that as well on my stream like multiple times. Like there has to be something that's worth playing arena for. Like
Yeah,
it's like you just get everybody just playing it like it's a public free for all at the moment, and it's not fun and it's
yeah,
not challenging. And by the time that the first circle's closed, there's 25 people left, and you made your first 3 points, and it's just like this is kind of pointless. Like there needs to. I mean, it'd be really cool if there were reward systems, not just like the point system, but something else. Unlocking certain items and pins and stuff like that. So people really care about trying to do something, and try and win.
yeah,
Nobody likes like people like W keying. I think people like playing W keying, but when it's there constantly every goddamn game, it's just infuriating.
yeah,
Like you want people to take the late game serious, and you want to have a good late game fights. I think there needs to be, as you said, like a relegation or something like each other week that you got to earn another 300 points. Otherwise, you don't get to play in the World Cup again.
yeah.
And I feel like they need some stepping stones really, or something progressive that they can actually push towards.
Moving on with that one, then have it so that you have a system like the Winter Royale where the semi-finals, instead of taking in however many people it takes in, you kind of have, or actually you can still have the semi-finals taken in its top 1,500, but then after that you have it takes in top 200, and then you do customs.
Yeah, I think I like that idea a lot actually. That's
Yeah,
pretty good. I mean, I didn't, because I think when it came to the Winter Royale, I kind of liked the fact that they did that. I was pretty close to qualifying for the top 200 on like the first day or
yeah,
whatever the first qualifiers were, and it definitely I think I don't know, it felt like there was something like when you got into that top 200, if you got there, that was a
Yeah.
massive achievement that you've just pulled off, and that you get to play against the best players
Yeah,
now.
you now playing against the next best players, and with that system, after you have your, top 100, your upper bracket also, then the top eight that performers from those customs then qualify. Obviously, that's top eight for EU, and then
Yeah,
however it's
yeah.
split up for everyone else. I
No,
think
that's cool.
I think I
I
like
think I
that
like that
system.
idea.
Yeah, I think that one might be my favorite one. Um,
No, that's a really good idea, to be fair. I like the fact that, you're taking ideas and like, making new ones from the old ideas that kind of failed. Like that's how, how
yeah,
things are created and how things improve dramatically. And I think that's a really cool way of getting the best players in the last 200 or whatever.
yeah. Um, the final take, it's a bit of an interesting one. Keep it the same, but instead of people automatically qualifying, or when I say keep it the same, I mean keep it the same as the take you just heard, take two. Keep it
Yeah.
the same, but instead of people qualifying from that week, you get points instead, and those points count towards a league and a league table. And then after however many weeks they do of that league, um, you have it so that the top 200 players from the league are seeded. Then you have an actual LAN event basically
Yeah.
with those top 200 players. Then the top 100, obviously
Go on
from
to the
each,
next round. Yeah.
yeah, the top 100 going to the next round, and that round obviously being the Fortnite
The
World Cup
final.
finals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, it definitely needs. It's an okay idea. Just it's just how you structure it in terms of how the points are distributed and how you can earn these points, and if it's clearly laid out and understandable. I think a lot of the World Cup stuff is like how simple can we make it and make sure that everybody can understand it.
yeah,
I think that is one of the focal points that they've done so far, so that if you're playing in these qualifiers, you know exactly where you are, where you're standing, and where you're going to be going essentially. But I think it would be nicer if it's a little bit more complex, for the fact that it offers more variety, and it sort of evens out the playing field and gives people who are more consistent bigger chances to qualify. And that's something that I think we all want,
my
especially the competitive community.
my biggest problem with that one though, as much as I do like having it kind of like a league system which rewards consistency, and a lot of players said that they wanted something that rewards consistency. The biggest problem with that is, let's say they have that league for over, let's say they do 10 weeks, right? Like they've done with um the current World Cup qualifiers.
Yeah, yeah,
Once it's reached the eighth week or so, you essentially know who's qualified and who's not, depending
yeah,
on how they were
for
to
sure.
do a point system. And I think at that point you lose interest. The biggest bonus of the way they've done it so far is the fact that any week anyone can qualify, you know?
Yeah,
And like
but
with
I totally agree with that statement as well. I think you're right. You bang on the money, and that's the thing that makes battle royales really compelling, is that anybody can be a winner, right?
yeah,
It's the whole game mode, right? You can have that one chance where you're behind Mongrel and he's got no shields, no nothing, and you can kill him, right?
yeah,
And everybody's on that even playing field, more so than any other game. The players that are crazy consistent and crazy good at the game have, I think, always done very, very well each week. Like, it's quite insane how well they do from week to week to week to week. And I don't think that will really change that much, to be honest. No matter what system you put in there, I feel like the players that are currently qualifying and currently doing well and making the top 20s are always going to be where they are.
yeah,
I think they're just such skilled individuals that's no matter what, that won't change. But I think it's just the fact that everybody feels like they want to be in this and have a fair chance of competing. That's what everybody wants. And right now, this probably is the fairest, but probably not for the people that have put in the most time and effort in. Maybe, I don't know. It's hard. It's a real hard one to bang your head up against the wall on.
yeah. And I think that's where once again I appreciate Epic for kind of having an idea, sticking with it, and rolling with the punches, just going with the results of it. It'll be interesting
Yeah,
to
they've
see how they move on after World Cup.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like Epic are always in this really difficult position. No matter what they do, they're kind of almost doomed to fail, even though they're trying to do the best thing. And people say that they don't listen, but they really do listen. Just because I've worked with them, and they really want to do the best for everyone, but sometimes they have to make difficult decisions that seem just like that they don't make sense. But
Yeah,
they've got a lot of statistics. Like you go into their building, the walls are just filled with these statistics of like, all right, this weapon's being used the most. This is what's
yeah,
most popular. This is, and they take that on board, but they also take on board a lot of feedback of what people say, especially like the pro community, more so than a lot of people think. But
I've,
when you have so many different voices that have different contradicting ideas, you can't. It's hard to know which direction to go to.
yeah. I think for all of you younger people watching, and for older people who might not understand this, I'm gonna be writing a flipping exam about this tomorrow. But little politics lesson here. So obviously there's things called pressure groups, and pressure groups obviously have a certain they have an agenda, they have a cause, they want to achieve something, a specific thing, whatever that is. And pressure groups don't seek to get power, but they want to influence the people in power. They want to influence the government.
Yeah,
Now, obviously, those pressure groups are looking out for their, specific subject matter, but it's the government's job to look at that point and then take that into consideration in managing a whole country and influencing and thinking about other policies. So when you're trying to take that analogy and bring it to Fortnite, I feel like as the comp scene, obviously have what we want, which benefits us and what we think is best for us. But you have to remember that Epic aren't just handling us, they're handling an entire game which they want to sustain for a
yeah.
long time, you know?
I mean, the main problem with Unreal Tournament when working on that game, because I was trying to please everybody
Yeah,
as I was like a community manager, and I couldn't do it, and it was stressing me the hell out.
yeah,
Like I was like, these pros have got a point, but Epic have got a point too, and they conflict in their points, and it's like, well, which decision do you go for? And especially when they have Unreal Tournament has like three different predecessors, right? It's, Unreal Tournament 99, 2K4, and Unreal Tournament 3, and then they're trying to make the fourth one. And everyone's going, oh, use the balance of 99, use the balance from UT4, you use it from 3, and it's like,
yeah,
like that. It You can't just keep mashing these ideas up together. Somebody has to make a difficult choice, and it's like I think they learned a lot from that experiment that they did. That sometimes it's best not to listen to the community and come up with a decision internally, and then just put it out there to see what people feel of it. Because I'm sure there's been so many things that they've done in the past 2 years when they've done a change, and everybody's gone, "Oh, that's really good." But everybody forgets about the really good stuff that they've changed. They
yeah,
just remember the bad shit, right? It's just how our brains are programmed. It's just whenever something physically hurts, you always remember that rather than say such a good memory. So
yeah,
I think they're always on the ball, but they're human as well. They're always going to make mistakes, and you just got to roll with the punches sometimes. It's going to be
yeah,
a bad patch. Sometimes it's going to be a great patch.
yeah, man. 100% agree. Um, Thank you very much for joining me on the
No
podcast today.
problem, man. It's been a pleasure. It's been
Yeah.
great talking to you.
Let the people know what's going on with Zaccubus, man. Are you going to be playing this weekend?
I probably will be playing. I'll probably be playing with a guy called Banzai. He's pretty damn good, to be fair. So hopefully he can carry me.
Yeah,
But yeah, I've just been streaming 24/7 since the very start, pretty much of Fortnite. So just twitch.tv Zaccubus. That's me. Job done.
I'll be sure to link you down in the description below. Um, Thank you, man, for joining me.
No problem, man. Anytime.
Thank you guys for listening to that episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed speaking to Zaccubus. He's got a lot of insight. He's obviously been around for such a long time in the scene and in gaming in general. And I'd love to have him back on here in the future. Let me know if you guys would like to have him back down in the comment section below, or tweet at me on Twitter what you think of this episode. His links will be down below in the description. Thank you to all the pro players who helped me, kind of come up with these takes. Um, who else is there to thank? To thank you guys. Thank you guys once again for listening. If you've listened all the way up to this point, man, let me know on Twitter if you've listened all the way up to this point. And what should I say? You can say pineapple. Say pineapples, and I know you listened all the way up to this point. Um, my Twitters and stuff's gonna be down below. You should already know that by now. 112k on Twitter. I'll see you guys in the next episode.